Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Joe Scarborough is absolutely outmatched here. Mike Lawler runs circles around him on his own show. This is how you handle the mainstream media. Let's dive in.
With USAID, we were just talking about it. I support PEPFAR. I support these programs because they save so many lives. But I also support it strategically as an old Cold War conservative. I understand that boots on the ground are important, but also humanitarian aid is important. It's also important what intel we pick up, whether it's from the Ivory Coast or Sudan or other parts of Africa and other continents. I'm curious what your thought is on how USAID should be approached.
Well, Joe, we're actually going to have a hearing tomorrow on USAID in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and a lot of these issues will be discussed. When you look at a program like PEPFAR, I have been very strong in my support for it. 60% of PEPFAR's program is administered by USAID. Secretary Rubio did grant a waiver for life-saving programs like PEPFAR, which obviously is critical on the continent of Africa, saving tens of millions of lives over the last 2 decades. Probably one of the best soft power accomplishments of the United States foreign aid program ever. But then you look at some of the expenditures by USAID. For instance, I uncovered over $3 million to a rap artist in Gaza producing anti-Israel, anti-Semitic songs. Is that the best use of American taxpayer dollars? I would venture not. And so one of the things that we're going to do in this hearing tomorrow, obviously, is go through what actually is the role of USAID, what should they be focused on, and frankly, what have they been focused on? And I think one of the things to keep in mind, Joe, in other parts of the world, some of the woke ideology that USAID was promoting is not welcomed by the people or the governments, and it actually can be counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So I think one of the things we need to recognize.
That's what you guys do, though. Like, that's what you go through in subcommittees. It's not like some radical Berkeley professor said, hey, let's give $3 billion to a rap artist in Gaza who's going to do anti-American and anti-Israel.
No, the Biden administration did. That's part of the problem here.
But you have Congress, though, who funds USAID. So yes. Shouldn't you all be making these calls instead of Elon Musk?
But Joe, one thing I will tell you, and you as a former member of Congress certainly understand this, in the separation of powers, sometimes when you're asking for information, the executive branch doesn't want to share it. We had numerous hearings last Congress. We sent numerous letters to Samantha Power, to USAID, requesting more information. And for obvious reasons, they didn't want to provide it. What you've seen in the last few weeks, frankly, while some people may object, you certainly understand, Joe, oftentimes government moves at a glacial pace. Right. And so, yes, we have seen things move very rapidly, but oftentimes when you're making an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. And I do think that, unfortunately, is necessary as we're actually trying to uncover what these agencies and departments are doing, what they're spending money on, and is it in keeping with the United States mission? There's no question humanitarian aid, soft power is critical to our foreign policy. And when it comes to issues like PEPFAR, when it comes to issues like feeding the hungry, yes, that is a primary mission. Yeah. But that's not exactly what USAID has been focused on.
Well, a year ago, this kind of interview would not happen. This would be a panel-style interview where everyone is jumping down the one Republican's throat. That's not happening anymore. Now they are forced to allow Republicans on these mainstream media outlets like Morning Joe, and they have to come to terms with the sad reality, at least sad for them, that not only have Republicans won, but the media landscape is shifting. Furthermore, Americans are really not happy about this USAID stuff. And remember, USAID doesn't mean United States aid. It is essentially the soft power arm of the CIA. And yes, there is some humanitarian stuff that does good things. And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Neither do the Republicans in Congress. But Mike Lawler does fundamentally understand that there's a whole lot of waste that goes through USAID. Okay? It is a problem. And you have a whole lot of people out there, for some reason, that are clutching their pearls over this. Even a former professor of mine, back at my very conservative college, was livid, for lack of a better word, at this decision. And I'm just looking left and I'm looking right and I'm wondering, what are you complaining about? We need to cut the waste, the fraud, the abuse. We've got to end these problems because they just keeps mounting. It just keeps getting worse. It's time to say no. We've got to figure out how to stop all this mess. And even if the courts say, no, conservatives, you're wrong on this one. Congress has allocated that money. You can't shut down this department. And if that happens, that's fine. But then that means the Republicans in Congress have to actually make a budget. Remember, we're on a continuing resolution, not an actual budget. Essentially, we have a blank check, and finally, that check is bouncing. That's what has been happening over and over and over again, and it's time to become solvent. That's what the Department of Government Efficiency, that's what the Doge department is all about. It's not about the memes. It's not about the jokes. It's not about Elon having access to your Social Security, which, by the way, if you think that's bad, wait till I tell you what Google has on you, okay? And then wait till what the Chinese Communist Party has on you. I can guarantee you that there's a file on me for this channel because I've mentioned them so many times, okay? That's just sort of the reality. That's how they operate. And that's what a lot of the internet is. It's the storage of your data. So people are out there just clutching their pearls and making a nuisance of themselves, talking about things that they don't fully understand. There are a ton of people that still don't understand what USAID does and why we're so mad about it. And that's mainly because, again, the mainstream media keeps on whipping up these sensationalist headlines, and now you have government employees marching out for their rights out in D.C., well, bless their hearts, but they have either been bad at their jobs or they have been suckling a little too much on the wonderful teat of the federal government. And now it looks like their contracts, it looks like a lot of their jobs are going away. To which I say, goodbye and good riddance to bad luck. And meanwhile, Mike Lawler, I'm really liking this guy the more I look into him. Apparently he started his own strategies firm about not just political consulting, but specifically about political marketing and how you communicate with the media. And you can tell this here because he doesn't get moved off of his spot. He stays strong, he stays focused, and even though he's not getting pressed too much, Joe Scarborough is bringing up some ways that this might end up failing, and I think Joe Scarborough was briefly in Congress, if I'm not mistaken. So he should understand how this works as well. And so Joe is actually being a pretty decent journalist here. I mean, that's the first time in a while. But what Lawler is essentially doing is just staying the course, not getting moved off of this message, and reminding the American people on Morning Joe that we need to start taking a look at these problems. It is time that we stop wasting our money, the taxpayer dollar. Your money, my money, our money. Okay? I don't want my taxes being wasted to pay for comic books in Peru. Okay? It should not be controversial to want this, and yet for some reason it is. All because we still have a mainstream media that's doing the best that they can to not only stay relevant, but to keep getting rich white liberals to keep on paying attention to them. And they know that the moment they finally say, you know what, this is actually a good thing, one of two things is going to happen. Either one, that person's going to get kicked off of their own program because people are going to call in and say, how dare you tell the truth? Or the people who are listening to it realize, oh, I've been lied to. And it's like a light bulb going off in their brains. Because I've seen it happen with certain people. For instance, my light bulb moment, I was a never Trumper. And my light bulb moment was the October surprise of 2016 when the mainstream media leaked a video of Donald Trump saying some, not safe for work stuff, but that's when I realized do nothing but sensationalize. They wait till the right time, and instead of telling the truth to the American people, they are deciding what is and what isn't fair. And I have been on that Trump train ever since because we need fair and balanced media approaches. All right, the mainstream media is slowly starting to get the message, but they're not there yet. And this segment proves it. So ultimately, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater with USAID, but we are going to expose the abuse of the system and the waste of your taxpayer dollars. That's what Lawler is saying. That's what even Joe Scarborough is tacitly admitting here. And even if the courts say, no, Congress has to deal with it, we can still lobby our congressional leaders to better appropriate funds properly, because once you tell the executive branch, hey, you need to fund this department, they didn't say that oh, well, you can not cut out the abuse of the problem. So I can't wait to see how this all ends up, but I certainly hope that we continue to have people like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and in this case, Mike Lawler, telling the truth to the American people and exposing the fraud and the waste. And Joe Scarborough, you're getting better, but got some work to do, buddy. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Brawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.